What's going on YouTube? So earlier today, we just got through filming the brand new X3M. But now we're following it up with what could be called the OG of the M lineup, the M4. Besides for the name change, the M3 was one of the original beloved M models, and today it's definitely the most well-known model in the M lineup. That's why we chose to check out this iconic M4 competition today at BMW of Cincinnati North. And of course, if you're in the market for any new BMW, make sure you stop by their dealership or visit them virtually via their website, which we provided a link to in the video description. So with all the new M vehicles coming out, let's see if this M4 is still the best one. So getting things started with the exterior styling, it's not hard to notice just how mean the M4 looks even from a distance. That's especially the case with this competition model, which blacks absolutely everything up front out for a completely stealth look. As far as the headlights, they have the same design as the outgoing 3 Series and are fully LED with the signature daytime running lights and adaptive abilities. Moving on to the side and back, that sleek and stealthy look continues with an aggressive body line, smoked full LED taillights, and quad exhaust pipes. Now obviously this is the hardtop cabriolet, so you will notice that the trunk is a little longer and the roof a little more squared off compared to the coupe version. But overall, this continues to be a really awesome looking vehicle on the outside, and it certainly is a head turner. Now visually speaking, there is one more reason to choose the competition, and that's these fantastic looking 20-inch forged star spoke alloys, available in your choice of either light or this dark finish. Going for the standard M4 does still give you 3 good looking options of either 18 or 19 inches. And then as far as your brakes, we have the upgraded 16-inch $8,100 carbon ceramic brakes, which you can tell by the calipers being gold instead of the usual blue. Now beyond performance features, the M4 does have the signature M mirrors, which are also heated, power folding, and have blind spot monitoring built in. The M4 also comes standard with the active driving assistance systems, which are forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane departure warning, and adaptive cruise control, plus automatic high beams in the executive package. But anyways, that hits the main features of the outside. So now let's go ahead and check out the cabin. Now at this point, this is an older BMW. So you do have the older style BMW key fob. It is the same as far as the functionality, it's just lacking a little bit of differences as far as the most recent key fob, like the metal trim along this side. But of course, as far as actually getting inside the vehicle, it does operate the same. All you have to do is just grab the handle. Now taking a look inside our 2020 BMW M4, as you can see, this does share the cabin of the outgoing 3 Series models, but of course it is still a very lovely space with a lot of beautiful details for this M4 competition model. Now of course what we have is the black option, but there are a lot of more exotic options if you want to add more splashes of color to the cabin. So starting out with your standard model, you have merino leather in black, silverstone, or Sakir orange and black combination. That's the standard, but we have the optional merino leather for $22.50. It does extend the leather out to the door trim as well as other interior surfaces. And that comes in a whole slew of other color options. So you've got this black, silverstone, sapphire, golden brown, nutmeg, opal, amaro, and cohiba. As far as trims, you got another grouping of selections. So your standard options will be anthracite wood, aluminum blade, or carbon fiber, which is what we have. Or you can pay extra for dark red sycamore, piano black, or white ash wood. Now turning to your door trim here, it is beautifully appointed. As you can see, you do have leather over pretty much all the surfaces, including the extreme upper portion, since we have the extended leather. All 4 of your windows are one-touch automatic, of course. Then as far as your seats, I'm not 100% sure of how many ways of adjustment it does have. It looks to be about 14 ways with 4-way lumbar support. You do have 2-person memory seating right here next to the controls. There is a manual thigh extension as well. And like I already described, this is the merino leather, which is the nicest grade of leather offered in BMWs. It is really feels great to the hand. It's soft and supple, and you do have your special M4 badging as well, and your multicolored M seat belts, which are really cool. So of course, this is a purist sports car. That's why you get the M4. But you really don't sacrifice in terms of material quality in the cabin. You've got leather over pretty much every conceivable location. So the entire upper dash is covered in a beautiful merino leather with color contrast stitching. You've got carbon fiber and aluminum through the middle, more leather that runs through all these lower areas. And of course, fit and finish is very good. Now to start the M4, you're just going to press the red button. And when you do press that, you will see this standard touch display fire up. But we'll go ahead and start up the engine. That's what you really came for. And listen to it with the hood top down. Now, as awesome as it is to hear the engine sing, it is super hot today. Really hot and humid. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to put the top back into place. So all it is, it's fully automated hardtop, of course. So you're just going to press this little switch here. You'll see the mechanism start to deploy. And in about 15-20 seconds, we'll be fully closed up here. And it's as simple as that. Now returning back over here to your gauges, these are your traditional BMW gauges. So obviously they are fully analog and have that really classy, typical sporty BMW look. You do have a display in the middle there that can display different types of information, and along the bottom as well. And then if you choose the executive package, which our model is equipped with, having a little trouble getting up there due to the microphone. There we go. Now we can see the head-up display that does come in the executive package. Now coming back to your steering wheel, you've got the classic BMW M steering wheel, 3 spokes, really nice feeling leather. And you do have the multicolored stitching, which is a really nice detail. As far as your buttons, you've got your cruise control buttons, your traditional voice and audio controls. We do also have rain sensing wipers, and you'll notice here we have really tall and aluminum trimmed paddle shifters, which are very nice. As far as the steering wheel itself, it is always manually adjusting, and you'll notice this little button right here. This is for heating, and that's a standalone option. Now moving on to interior storage, of course, this vehicle is not really intended to store a lot of things. That being said, it's actually not bad. So let's start out with our center console here. Just lift that up. We do have a small little tray here for storing things. You will also notice our wireless phone charger. This is a standalone option. And what you do to keep it in place here is you basically just slide this back. It resizes to the size of your phone and then kind of snaps it in to the tray. And you do also have a USB port as well. Up in front of that, you got your 2 cup holders, and then if you slide this little tray back, you'll have a little bit more storage and a 12-volt outlet, as well as a USB above it. But as far as the actual operation, it's not too far from any other BMW. So for drive, you're just going to bump over here to the right. You can shift manually right here on this stick, or of course you can use the paddle shifters, which I already showed you. Now for reverse, what you're going to do is go over to the neutral and then up to reverse. And you will notice that the shifter actually stays in that configuration to help it be easier for you to see. And when you do, you will load up a standard backup camera. This is the regular backup camera with the parking sensors. This being the executive package model, we also have the front and side camera system as well. And if you do want to activate those other camera systems, what you do is press that little camera button and that will show them to you. It is not a 360 camera, it's just a corner side camera. Now as far as the other buttons here around your shifter, you will see different modes to configure various things. This is for your throttle and engine response, your adaptive suspension, as well as your steering, and we'll talk about those a little later in the test drive. And of course back here you do have your traditional controller to control the iDrive system. Alright, now the next stop up is our climate controls. This is BMW's typical 2-zone automatic climate control. It is very simple to use. All your buttons are physically rendered right here. So you just adjust the temperature with these big knobs, and you can adjust the fan speed and zones right here. Additionally, we do have 3-stage heating. That is standard across all the models, but ventilation is not available. Alright, now that brings us up here to our audio system. So this is the upgraded Harman Kardon sound system. It does come standard on every M4. So we'll go ahead and take a sample. Sound quality of this system is quite good. This is not the latest version of iDrive, but it's a very recent one, and the functionality is pretty much the same. You'll notice, importantly, that we do have touch screen abilities in addition to the controller. So I will point out a few of the key features here. First of all, we do have standard navigation, which is definitely nice to have, but if you don't want to use that, you still have the ability to use Apple CarPlay. That's going to be standard for 1 year like all BMWs. You do have to pay a subscription afterwards, and you do not have access to Android Auto. But as far as pretty much everything else, it is the same as in other BMW models. So we do have a dedicated tech help video available for those of you who want to learn more about it. A link to that video will be provided in the description. And then moving up here, finally, we do have an auto-dimming mirror with your 3 Hellmate universal remotes. And obviously you're not going to find a moonroof because this is a convertible, so you can just take the top down. But anyways, the cabin of the 2020 BMW M4 continues to age gracefully. This is a very luxurious cabin. You have leather over pretty much every surface, plenty of technology. And really, one thing I'm really impressed by is that it feels pretty spacious in here and very comfortable, even though on the outside this looks like a car that could be potentially small and cramped. That is definitely not the case. But anyways, that is it for up front. Now go ahead and hand it off to Mason, who will check out all the rest of the areas. Alrighty, so now let's go ahead and check out the rear seats of the M4. Obviously it does have rear seats, which is a really nice feature, especially considering that this car is very performance oriented. So to get back here, it is a pretty simple process. So all you have to do is look at this little handle. It will fold the seat forward, and then all you have to do is push this button to slide it up and out of the way. Now once you do that, you can just fold the seat back down into place, and you can just push the button to slide it back into regular seating position. And it is one touch as well. Now, my first impression sitting back here is actually a very good impression. So this seat is adjusted pretty much all the way back, and I still have several inches of rear legroom, which is extremely impressive. I definitely was not expecting that. And down below, I do even have room for my feet up underneath of the seat. Now off to the side, we do have a leather wrapped armrest, and it is even leather wrapped above that, as well as some speaker grills. And even this far upper portion is leather wrapped, so BMW definitely has not cheaped out on materials in the back seat area. Now as far as your features go, you do even have vents, which I'm very pleasantly surprised by. You have your fan adjustment as well as your temperature adjustments as well. And you do have a 12-volt power outlet. Now in addition to that, in the center area, we do have some pop-out cup holders and a little storage cubby. And I do also want to point out that back here, we do have the seat belts with the M colors, which is a really nice touch. And overall, I'm just very impressed back here, especially with the top down. You know, that's the reason you buy a convertible. There's plenty of headroom, and I'm actually very comfortable back here. The seats are comfortable. They're kind of buckets, and I have plenty of leg room, so I'm very impressed with this M4's rear seat. Now in order to get out, just do the same thing, fold it up, and then push the button. It does make getting out really easy, actually. And heading around to the trunk of the M4, all you have to do to open it is locate this little button under the lid, and it does open right up. Now inside, you are going to find two different cargo measurements depending on if you have the top up or down. Right now we have the top down, so we're going to find 8 cubic feet of space, which is honestly a lot more space than I would expect. And if you have the top up, it goes up to 13 cubic feet, which is actually a really large amount of space. That's another impressive figure. Now as you can see, there's actually a lot of room back here. There's quite a length to it. There's not much depth here with the top down, but there is quite a length to it, and as you can see, there's room for a lot of stuff back here. So definitely don't be concerned if you maybe want to have a weekend bag or anything. You're definitely going to be able to do that in your M4. Now as far as your passenger seat, it is the same adjustments as the driver as you would expect, and it is the same lovely design with your M4 branding and your air scarf. And in the front of the passenger, you do have lovely materials as well as some more carbon fiber. And down here, we have a good sized glove box. It is nicely felt lined. And I do also want to point out that the glove box is leather wrapped, which is a really, really nice touch. Up top, we do have a sun visor with a small mirror and light, and it does also detach, however, it does not extend. But anyway, guys, that sums up all the practical stuff about this M4 convertible. So now let's go ahead and take it on the road and see the real reason why you buy one of these. Alright, so since this is the M4, what else really matters besides the powertrain and the test drive part, which is where we're at right now. So let's go ahead and talk about a few of the different specs. So what you're looking at, as most of you probably know, is a 3-liter twin-turbo inline 6-cylinder. That makes 425 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque, except when you go for the competition package, which is what this one has, and now we have 444 horsepower and the same amount of torque. As far as your transmission, you have the choice between a 6-speed manual or a 7-speed DSG transmission, and of course it's rear-wheel drive only. And then 0 to 60 is going to be 4.2 seconds, regular model 4.1 seconds with a competition package, and if you choose the manual on either of those, that's going to make you lose 0.2 seconds. Those of you in the market may realize that even though it's less powerful than both the C63 and RCF, the 0 to 60 is the same, or in the case of the Lexus, exceeds it. Finally, we do have a couple different fuel economy ratings. So with your manual, you're going to be rated at 17 city, 25 highway, 20 combined. And then when you go with this automatic transmission, that's going to drop to 16 city, 22 highway, 19 combined. But anyways, that's enough of the numbers. Let's get on the road and see how it performs.
Alright, and starting out this test drive, I do want to just go ahead and mention that we do have the convertible top down, as you can see. I wanted to make sure that give you guys maybe a sound sample of what it's like with the convertible top down. That way, if you're looking to get the convertible model and don't want it super loud inside the cabin, you can see what it's like.
Even though it's probably not going to be good for my allergies.
Probably not, but we can put it back up and we'll see what it's going to be like.
Plenty of power. This is the M4, of course, so you're gonna have plenty of power. That's expected, but it's still impressive when you first get onto it. Also, the steering and handling, you can just tell right off the bat. Superb. Now while we're sitting here, I'll go ahead and apologize in advance. Here in this suburban setting, speed limits are pretty low and there's a lot of police around. So we probably won't be able to push this car to its max, that's for sure. But we're going to give you guys as good of a sample as we can. As well as, it's really important to kind of get an everyday life sample, in my opinion. You gotta see how it's gonna be when you live with this vehicle.
Yeah, power when you first get on is it's really just incredible. Especially in a small vehicle like this, to have 450 almost horsepower, it's just absolutely incredible. And while the top is down, I do want to go ahead and mention the sound like I said I was going to. We're cruising around 40 miles an hour. And if you're worried about the wind, I can tell you that's definitely not a concern. I don't even think I've got a ruffle of my hair because, it really keeps the wind out of here. Now, as far as the noises, you're basically going to hear the traffic as you would in any convertible. Obviously, the roof is off, but BMW does keep it very luxurious in here, even with the top down. It's very comfortable.
Right, and if you roll the windows up, just like any convertible, aerodynamically, the air mostly passes over you. just entered onto a extremely bumpy road.
Barely a road.
Yeah, honestly, it's almost gravel. But anyways, to be honest, ride is a lot softer than I would have thought. I think we are in the comfort suspension right now, so that's definitely helping. You know, you've got the M adaptive suspension, so you do have all those choices available at your disposal to be able to make those changes and adapt to the environment. So when you're on a road like this, you're definitely gonna want to be in the comfort mode, but it definitely handles those bumps impressively well for a car like this.
You know, honestly, I think it might even do better than a lot of BMW sedans.
We'll try the sport and sport throttle and sport steering and see what happens now. Yeah, definitely picks things up again, another notch. Throttle response is a lot sharper. As soon as you get on it, you're getting a lot more response. Before we were in what they call efficient, just kind of dulls it down a little bit for the everyday use, you know, around town and stuff.
Wow.
Very addicting.
I mean, now that we're driving it, I can see, you know, this car, it has a six-figure price tag, but I can definitely see why. I mean, you're getting so much. I mean, you're getting the convertible top-down experience, and it just looks so good on the outside, and it's also just so good when you start driving it. It's just really a fantastic all-around car. This car's dynamics, I mean, even from the passenger seat, you can notice the BMW dynamics. You know, like when you're just going up and down these hills and stuff, it feels like you're almost like glued to the road. Like you could be going 700 miles an hour and not even take a second look. You know, I mean, it's just crazy how planted this car feels.
Feels kind of like a roller coaster in a sense, you know?
And this is the convertible. It's supposed to have less structural rigidity than the coupe. So
I think it's a testament to this car is just how good it is. And this is not its environment at all. A bumpy, low speed limit urban road, you know, but it really is a testament to the car that this is still a good time. You know, certain cars are maybe too hardcore or whatever, and then this would be a really, really bad experience.
yeah.
You know, it has to be in a certain environment, but I don't think that's the case here, you know. This is comfortable enough that you can drive it on a road like this in everyday living. But of course, where it's gonna wanna be most is on a curvy back road. And that's where it will really shine. But overall, what can I really say? I mean, this is a lovely vehicle to drive. You know, it has been around for a little while. You know, it's been out for several years. But one thing you just never lose over time is something that is this sweet to drive. You know, that's the way it was, that's the way it is, and that's the way it always will be. This is a car people will want to buy pre-owned and stuff for many years down the road.
Alrighty, and now let's go ahead and discuss the pricing of this 2020 BMW M4. Now, as you would expect, it doesn't come cheap, all of this performance and luxury. So for the very base M4 convertible, we're going to come in at $77,650. And if you want what we have here, which is the M4 convertible competition, that's going to increase it to $81,900 as a starting price. And as far as how this particular M4 convertible is equipped, this is definitely a higher end model, so we do have quite a few options. So we have the optional black sapphire paint for $550, the black full merino leather for $2550, the competition package, as I previously explained, for $4250, the executive package for $2100, the M double clutch transmission for $2900, the M carbon ceramic brakes for $8,150, the heated steering wheel for $190, the neck warmers for $500, the active blind spot detection for $500, wireless charging for $500, as well as a lot of different types of floor liners, and the destination charge of $995. So all in, this particular model is about as expensive as you can get it at $101,600, which is definitely not cheap. But if you take a look at the outside, I think you'll understand why this car is so expensive. You're going to get attention everywhere. It's really a gorgeous car, and it has a lot of performance, as well as the awesome driving dynamics. Well guys, hope you enjoyed watching this in-depth look at the 2020 BMW M4 competition. Please hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.